Welcome to this game theory lesson on voting games. My name's Matt Rosu, dropping videos. So I'm going through my game theory course on campus at Susquehanna University. There are lessons where you can follow along and learn a little bit about one of my favorite subjects, game theory. This is the second video on voting. You don't necessarily have had to watch the first one. These are somewhat distinct and separate, but the other one will also help you learn a little bit more about how game theory applies to voting, so I recommend you check that out. Today we're going to start by talking about alternative electoral schemes. And I think if there is a big takeaway message here, the takeaway message is that the way you set up the voting scheme matters. The type of rules you have for an election can lead to different candidates winning. Now, what are some of the more common electoral schemes that we might see? There's 5 that we'll discuss a bit today. Plurality rule being one, runoff elections, and then there's preference voting, a couple different formats for that, or approval voting. A plurality rule election might be the one that's easiest to think about. Everybody puts in a vote, whoever gets the most votes wins. By having it as plurality rules, the person who gets the most votes wins, even if they don't get a majority of votes. So if you have, say, 3 candidates and one candidate gets 37% of the vote and the other 2 get a little bit less, even though the candidate only had 37% of the people voting for them, they win. The plurality wins. A runoff election scheme where you need a majority, that will have a case where if you don't have a majority in the initial vote, then you would have a runoff election with a subset of the candidates who had the higher vote totals. Within the United States, actually, we have Senate elections that are both plurality rule, and we have Senate elections that are with a runoff election. So if some states, if there's 3 candidates and somebody gets 46% and they're the highest, they win. And in other states, you have to hit that 50% or higher mark. You have to get a majority. And if you don't get the majority, there's a runoff election with often the top 2 vote getters. Third electoral scheme, preference voting via the Borda rule. So of the Borda rule, you assign a preference to candidates, and then points are assigned in some inverse proportion. So in a 4-way election, let's put on the example here, say the top choice might get 4 points, next choice would get 3 points, third would get 2 points, fourth would get 1 point. These types of schemes, they can be preferred in the sense that if you have multiple people you like, you can throw it all in now. Of course, there's an artificial amount of points given, right? Like, why would your number 1 get 4 and the next get 3? For some people, that might be the right ranking, but for a lot of people, of course, that wouldn't. And that can lead to, of course, as we said, different people can get elected based on different schemes. In the previous video, we talked about Arrow's impossibility theorem, and that there's no scheme in multi-person elections where you have more than 2 that's always going to get you everything you want. Borda rule might have some things going for it, but some things are problematic. Similar to the Borda rule, you could have preference voting with an instant runoff. So individuals are ranked, and then if the first preferences don't get you to a majority, the alternatives generating the fewest first place votes would be eliminated, and the supporters' votes go to their second choice. Some in favor of this would think, well, this just seems to be a nice way to get to a majority of the votes. It's also a little bit more efficient. A huge cost of this one is many voters, the voting is something they do, but they have lives that are busy and complicated outside of voting. And sometimes it's tough enough to think through who's the top candidate I'd want to pick in a particular race. And now you want to have them put in 4, and we really think there's going to be efficient results. Once again, there's no perfect system. This one's got some benefits, some drawbacks as well. Approval voting scheme, voters cast a yes or no on whether they would approve of a particular candidate. The one with the most yes votes wins. These are 5 different schemes. We could come up with multiple schemes. But take-home message that I would love everybody to come out from here, is that different voting schemes can 100% lead to different people getting elected. Hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. You'll receive more content, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.